6, so he should be sitting there trying to. Oh, it's live. Hi guys, it's Nick and Zaheer. We're back with our regular Thursday slot, and yeah,
Slot. Sorry.
our Thursday slot. You and your mind.
No, I don't know why I didn't pick up on that before. Slot.
How are you? You all right?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Just been keeping busy. Just doing a lot of listings, getting stuff up and ready, and that kind of thing. What about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, just like you, keeping very busy. Always too much to do, not enough time.
Yeah. There's
Now,
plenty. Always plenty to do.
I just need to say we should have a guest. I sent the invite through to Lonnie, otherwise known as Garage Flips. He has a YouTube channel, and hopefully he will sort out issues his end and pop in at some point. I'll try and message him again in a few minutes if he doesn't turn up.
We've already got 31 people watching us, watching this quality production. I've got to say a quick shout out to Sean and to Caroline, because their hangouts, like they're like the opposite of ours in the terms of like order, organization, and I understand that's all thanks to Caroline, and Sean just goes with it. Is that right, Sean? So just wanted to put that out there. 40 people watching and everyone saying hello. Sean's in the chat. Good Use Goods, Simply Seeing, Chelsea, Rocking Zebra, Happy Chap, Mark Peterkin, Fake Rachel. Yes, it has started. Kaz is in the chat as well. So everyone's getting on there. Everyone's having a little chat in there as well.
I'm going to try and get organised and have the chat open on here at the same time.
Yeah.
When I tried, I managed to screw it up. So
when you open your video, pause it or mute it immediately.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'd say pause it, because then that will save your bandwidth. Because if you have the video running in the background as well as all that. Apparently Rachel was folding up laundry whilst watching, which is brilliant. So
that sounds more entertaining than us.
Yeah, probably. All right, Beck's in the chat as well, so she'll be upstairs watching.
Okay, let me see if I can find this video. Have we still not got Lonnie? No, he's not arrived yet. I'll message him again actually now and see what's going on. I've only got YouTube to message him. I didn't manage to get set up on Facebook with him or anything, so I hope he's seeing these.
Yeah. Everyone's saying it's nice to see you this week, Nick. I'm guessing that's to do with the...
Yeah, well, it's nice sunny weather here, so look, how long that will last, I don't know.
As long as it can hold out for the next hour, we're good. So, we'll see. Hopefully Lonnie will be with us. Oh, it goes, Nick, I have his email if needed. Good Use Good says he has his email. Well, you've got his email, haven't you? Oh, there we go. Here we go. On cue.
Oh, I think we have success.
We do.
Hey man, how are you?
Wow. Hey Nick, hey Zaheer, how you guys doing?
Hi Lonnie, how you doing? Great to have you on the chat.
Yeah, fantastic to finally get to chat to you, buddy. So how are you?
Doing good, man. This is pretty cool because I feel like I know you guys, but I got to remember, even though I've watched y'all for hours and hours and hours, we've never actually met. So it's pretty cool.
It is super cool. I always enjoy reading your comments on the videos, and I've started watching your videos as well, and I'm enjoying the live hangout you've got going on weekly as well. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's I've been kind of challenging myself to do something every day, and you guys know that can be super challenging.
That's a great topic to get into, isn't it? Challenge. And
do you mean on YouTube, Lonnie? You're trying to put some content out every day, or what?
Yeah, I've actually, Nick, I've done 2 weeks straight of daily content on YouTube for 2 weeks.
Wow. That's quite a challenge. I've never managed that. I've managed sort of 4 or 5 videos in a week, but then I don't know, it gets on top of me, and then I have a break from it, and release a few less. But it can get it's a lot of work,
Yeah, Yeah, it's definitely something. I think it's actually quite an interesting topic from a different point of view as well. It's about being able to challenge yourself to do it, like you said, like the motivation. So, have you got any advice, Lonnie? Because 2 weeks on the trot, I mean, what did you put into place to get yourself to be organized enough? I mean, I haven't put a video out for 3 weeks because of my lack of organization. So, I'm really looking forward to hearing how you do manage 2 weeks on the trot.
So the biggest thing I do is, and look, I'm just as disorganized as you. I think that's one of the things.
I'm not sure you can compete with our level of disorganisation, Lonnie. I'm not sure you can compete.
Yeah, we almost pride ourselves on how unorganized. We shouldn't, but
like one thing I do, guys, is I always keep scraps of paper or a notebook or whatever. I try and keep it with me all the time, because so many times during the day I'll have like this fleeting idea in my head that seems really just brilliant at the time, and then 2 hours later I'll be like, man, what was that thing I was thinking about? It was so awesome, it was so incredible, it was just earth-shattering, and then I can't remember what the hell it was, you know. And so writing stuff down every time you think of it, especially for me as I get older, has been a really big help, and writing enough to where when I read it later, I know what the hell it means. That helps too.
There's something
Absolutely,
as simple as taking notes. Nick, have you ever done that, or recently at all? Or I'm guessing not.
I take notes. You can ask Andrea this. I'll write things down on bits of paper and then lose the bits of paper, and then they'll turn up a couple of weeks later. And you know what I mean? That's how bad I am.
See, I'm not sure what's worse, not writing notes or writing them only to lose them. And I'd actually say that's probably worse than what I do, which is don't do it at all. But Lonnie, I mean, that's actually a really good tip, really good bit of advice. And how do you kind of regiment yourself to make sure that you're doing it? Because I've kind of often thought about doing things like that, like organizing my day, and then it just tails off. So have you got any tips for how you manage to keep that on track?
I don't. I mean, thoughts just come to me. I'll tell you what I do though, is the reseller community. It's pretty small, but the people there are super interactive. You know, like whenever I do a live hangout, I'll get maybe 20 people, and it seems like 75% of them are talking. You know, it's really pretty interesting. And like even if I get a video with like 200 views, 300 views, because I'm still pretty small, there's tons of comments. So a lot of times what I do to create new content, I just read the comments from the last video. People are asking questions. They're coming up with ideas. I'm crowdsourcing a lot of the stuff I do, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, before we go any further, we didn't really do an introduction. This is Lonnie, who's, you can probably tell from the accent, is based in America. He's on YouTube, really productive on YouTube, as we've just been discussing. He's got a great channel. What I will do is leave a link to that. This will go up on my channel, so people will be able to come across and check Lonnie out, which I thoroughly recommend. And you're a reseller, so do you just want to give us a bit of background about where you sell and what sort of stuff you sell, that sort of stuff, mate?
Sure. So I've been a full-time reseller. I quit my job about 2.5 years ago. I was working from home for Apple. I was doing tech support. I was working in my pajamas most days, which is pretty awesome. And I kind of blame that job because before that I was going to a regular 9-to-5. Well, not a regular 9-to-5. I was a poker dealer. But I had to, drive, commute to work. I was locked in, and I'd come home. Not really much freedom there, clock in, clock out kind of situation. And then I worked for Apple, and I was in more of a. I had a lot more freedom. I'd wake up and roll out of bed, and I'd be at work, and there's a lot of flexibility there. So I got a little taste of freedom, and I made a big score. And I bought a bunch of educational robots. There are these robot arms. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I know we're not all geeks here, but there's a score bot, there's a teach mover bot. There were just these really steampunk looking robots. I bought them all for like $150, and I ended up selling for I can't remember the numbers, guys, but it was $1,300 to $1,500 after it was all said and done. and that gave me the fever. So
So
I started
where did
going
you
out.
pick them up? Sorry, where did you pick them up? Was that at an auction or clearance sale? How did you come by those?
Well, there's an antique district here in the town that I live in. There's a bunch of antique shops, people renting booths and whatnot. There's like an old vinyl shop there, coffee shop. It's really, really kind of a nice weekend spot that people like to just kind of stroll around and browse and whatnot. And one of the owner's sons of one of the shops was in school and for mechanical engineering, and a lot of robot stuff was donated to him from the school because they were like upgrading or something. And
Okay.
he just put it out on the sidewalk. It was all in a big rolling cart. And I walked in, asked about it, and we dickered around for a minute and came up with $150 as the buying price. So it was kind of fate, right? I mean, if you believe in that.
Yeah, yeah. So were you selling on eBay before, or was that your start? That was the starting point completely, or were you already dabbling?
The first time I sold on eBay, Nick, was probably I don't really remember when eBay first started. I want to say it was like what 1995, 96
Yeah.
time frame
95.
somewhere in there. And
95.
I was in there right from the start, man. I sold like not full time or anything, like maybe a couple $100 a month, just for fun. Selling a few things around the house, or we go to this country auction every now and then. I'd pick up a couple of items. So I had some experience in the old days. Then I kind of let it go, but I knew what I was doing, So I knew there was definitely a big market there where I could move merchandise if I bought it. But
Cool. That's quite amazing. So you've seen the full progression of eBay. I mean, I started in eBay probably 99 was about when I got in, and I've seen it change beyond recognition, really. So you've seen that whole progression as well, I suppose.
Absolutely, man. I remember when I first started. I don't know how many of your audience was on like in the early days, but people were mailing personal checks. They were mailing money orders. I would get mail cash. I mean, we're talking cash money in an envelope.
Yeah, same here.
The amount of trust that was involved in the early days was incredible, and people got screwed. Buyers got screwed a lot, and there really wasn't a whole lot of recourse, as you know.
Yeah, and then they spent a lot of time trying to implement a certain amount of safety and all the procedures, and it's a lot better now. People moan about it now, but you're right. In the early days, it was the real wild west of selling, wasn't it? It was real kind of make it up as you go along kind of market.
Yeah, and I hear people a lot of times now they kind of bitch and moan about how buyer friendly eBay or Amazon is. They got this return or that return or this complaint and all these things, and this I had to refund all this money. And I think back and I'm like, there are failings in the system, but I would much prefer a marketplace where buyers feel 100% confident to buy. Because I remember the early days, they weren't 100% confident. So there weren't as many sales, the stuff didn't sell for as much,
Definitely. So how we got many people in the chat there, Zaheer. I see you busy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat. We've got 70 people watching, and there's a lot of positive comments for Lonnie. A lot of people are fans of your channel and really enjoy the content you're putting out. And a lot of people have actually are watching this. They were looking forward, and they would have been disappointed if we hadn't actually managed to get you on. So really, thank you again for coming on. But Good Use Goods is obviously there as well. There's people even taking bets on when my headphone's going to start to crackle. I don't know if I want to promote that. I still haven't changed it because I'm stubborn, but
I've got a better
take on what minute these headset fails, and then what minute I disappear into blackness.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Roberts is calling 6:30. DJ Retromate actually said 17 minutes in, so we'll see, guys. I don't want to get into that too much. But yeah, I mean, a lot of positive comments, definitely. A lot of people are really into your content that you're providing, and that, it's drawn them here to the chat. There's 74 people watching now, 32 thumbs up. So thanks everyone that's in the chat. and the chat is going down pretty quickly. So it's a bit difficult. If you guys want any questions answered by either any of us or anything specifically for Lonnie, please can you use capitals for question, and I will try to use my poor vision to pick out the questions. But yeah, it's pretty busy there. I've got a question here for you, Lonnie, actually, because not from myself, because I'm not that organized, but I asked Rebecca to come up with some questions that I could ask you. So she actually wrote some down for me because I thought, yeah, that would be a good idea. Something that's quite interesting, especially considering that you've been reselling, for quite a while in some form or another, and you've seen the market change, competition change. So that good old nutshell, what's your opinion on sharing information? How much do you share out of what you do? Are you like an all-in kind of guy, or do you hold certain stuff back?
Well, I will say that I've got a friend that sells on Amazon, and he does a lot of private labeling. And, he brings a lot of his own products to market, creates a listing, presents it in a unique way, and whatnot. And I understand in those kind of situations where you might have a trade secret, or you might not want to share exactly what you're doing because it could really negatively impact your business directly. You have competitors move in and take over your market, undercut you. So I understand that side. Now, in what I do, which is buying and selling mostly used stuff, it's just like an invention. I think the ideas are really, really cheap. The ideas, what we're buying. If you come up with some brilliant new product you want to invent, those ideas are pretty much worthless. The execution is where you actually make the money and make it happen. And we could talk about the things we pick up, and we can share knowledge all day. But the fact of the matter is, there's a small percentage of people out there that are willing to put in the effort and the hard work that it takes to actually procure those products. So, I mean, the community's small, first of all, and then a very small percentage of that community is actually willing to put in the hard work and effort. So I have no problem at all sharing pretty much everything I do, and I don't think it has a negative impact on me at all.
And what was your inspiration, your thought behind getting involved in YouTube? Was it just watching the other guys? Was it simple as that?
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting you asked that, Nick, because the first YouTube reseller I watched was actually you.
Oh, that's good. I'm over here in the UK as well, and you've got loads in the US.
Yeah, but the first, I wish I knew. It's been probably, I don't know, maybe a year that I first saw you, but I wish I knew how I happened upon your video. I don't know how I did it, but I really the main impetus for me starting a YouTube channel was whenever you work for yourself all day by yourself, like I know you two have your Zaheer, are you married to Rebecca? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So both of your wives, and Rebecca just started full-time with you, right, Zaheer?
Literally, yeah. Just a few days ago.
and look, congratulations on the move, by the way. I forgot to tell you that.
Thank you. Cheers.
So anyway, I work by myself. My wife works outside of the home. She works in the banking industry. So when she gets home, she doesn't want really to hear me talk about the reselling game too much. She doesn't share my passion for the stuff I'm buying. She doesn't get as excited as I do when I sell. So I am using YouTube as a community. Like when you work a 9-to-5, you have breaks, you have coworkers, you have people that relate to exactly what you do. Reseller world, you don't have that. You work by yourself all day. You have nobody to talk to. You have nobody to complain to. Nobody's shoulder to cry on. So this is kind of my way to reach out and get some feedback. And I tell you what, guys, it works. I mean, I feel part of something now, whereas before I was kind of the lone wolf.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think myself and Zaheer have said similar things. It's like we now have a community we have like messenger chats going on and that sort of thing. So we have that sort of water cooler moment, you know, when you want to just step out of what you're doing for 10 minutes and chat to somebody who gives a damn about what you're talking about. We have that now because it is a very lonely pursuit, exactly as you described. You can spend all day and not see another soul. I mean, we are lucky that we have our other halves with us, but it's still very isolating sometimes. So what it's done for me is given me an outlet where I can talk to people who understand, and that's the key for me. Would you feel the same, Zaheer? You've said similar stuff, I know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, in a way, it's more pronounced. I'm finding it because Rebecca obviously was working up till recently, and she did have that, and you could tell that she had her work friends and she had that whole side covered. And whereas I heavily relied on the community. The community is it's important. It's not something that you just do on the side. I'd almost go and say that it's a necessity. You've got to you've got to make some kind of contacts or you know, find people with a similar interest, and it makes a huge difference. So I'd completely agree. And now Rebecca's doing this. She's also starting to take more part in the whole thing online, because she realizes that she hasn't got that circle of friends anymore. She hasn't got that you know, work colleague situation, apart from obviously me here. But you know, you need more than that to stay sane, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else, guys, that YouTube has really been for me. I kind of think of my YouTube viewers as almost accountability partners. Like, whenever I'm out shopping for stuff to buy, I know whenever I get home, the first thing I'm going to do before I list it, I'm going to shoot a haul video, okay? And I'm going to show everything I bought that day. And whenever I pick something up, I think twice sometimes. I'm like, am I really going to be able to explain why the hell I'm buying this particular item? Should I really buy this? Is this going to, you know, and it's kind of like this little person on my shoulder, the YouTube community. What'd you buy that for? That's stupid. You paid too much, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I find they kind of keeps me in check. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I can see that. I've not had that mental approach to it, but I have, you know, shared things in the past that people have questioned my logic about it, certainly, and that's kept me in check and perhaps made me reassess what I'm doing on several things. So, yeah, I do understand what you're saying, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of following on from that. I mean, we've started to get some questions in, and you know, in a way, following on from what do you pick up? I mean, Margaret, Texas Scale Treasures, wants to know if there's anything that you specialize in.
Yeah, well, you know, Zaheer, I watched your videos a lot, and I think we buy a lot of the same things. Like, you know, of course, I'm buying video games. Okay, that goes without saying. I think anybody that's a full-time reseller, for the most part, unless you specialize maybe in clothing or something, and you hate video games, you should be buying video games. That's low-hanging fruit, real easy to source, sell, turns over real quick. So I'm definitely into video games. Calculators, small electronics, I love. Zaheer, you know, you always talk about Sony. It's the same thing here. I'm always looking for a Walkman. And then, like, even I'm trying to pick it up. Like, anytime, like, I'm just testing this this Sony stereo.
Nice.
And
you're getting excited now, Zaheer. I can see it in your.
That was a nice bit of hardware, definitely.
So I mean, and that's one of the areas I think I differentiate myself, and I think a lot of your viewers can too, is that I'm willing to buy the larger electronics. A lot of people pass right by it, so therefore it gets sold a lot cheaper. It's kind of a pain to ship, you know. It sells for pretty good money though, so if you're willing to deal with some of the harder to pack stuff, you can do pretty well with it. I also buy, I think, so electronics, video games, that's my specialty, but I will also buy pretty much anything that I've never seen before. I'll also buy anything that I pick it up, and I've heard you guys talk about this a lot, and if it feels like it's well made, if it looks like it's well made, if it feels like it just has an intrinsic value to it, just because of the materials or where it's made or the handcrafting. I know you guys have talked about this, so I hate to rehash it, but I think it's true. Once you've been doing it a while, your eye and your hands, the way it feels, things feel, if they feel valuable, that's the stuff I'm buying.
Yeah, Zaheer has a great turn of phrase which keeps ringing in my head, which is you can if you learn how to spot quality. And I'm more the sort of mainstream stuff. You've seen my videos. I'm kind of your quick flip, kind of more popular stuff. But I'm trying to get into that, stepping out of my comfort zone more and more. And it's about recognizing quality, and that's what I think Zaheer is very good at and has learned very quickly. And that's a good tip to keep in your head, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really interesting. Actually, it's nice to see that you've got such similar taste in the electronics. And a good point to pick up on that you mentioned there was being willing to test and package these things. Sometimes people jump into these niches and are not quite aware on what it takes to correctly package these items. I've actually seen an occasion where people have actually had their quite simple to ship stuff, such as some kind of hi-fi or electronics get damaged because they weren't quite packaged well enough. I always say that unless you're prepared to kick the package you've just done, it's not packaged well enough, especially when it comes to vintage electronics, because it's delicate stuff. I mean, it's easy to damage the casing or the internals. And also when it comes to testing, taking the time to test every function. For example, Lonnie there just held up, I think it was like an amplifier, was it? Or
yeah, it's a tuner amplifier.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got to be prepared to check every single input. You've got to be. You can't just switch it on and see that the lights have come on and everything's fine. You've got to check every input. You've got to check every channel the speakers connect to. And if you're not prepared to do that, then you've got to be prepared to take the consequences of that, which could be unhappy customers, etc. So it's definitely a lucrative niche to get into, but like with anything, it's still hard work. And just to follow on what Nick said about the mainstream stuff, even in the mainstream stuff, the whole thing about spotting quality, it still applies in a way, doesn't it? I mean, you still know when an action figure's worth more because it's made by Toy Biz or Hasbro versus some other company or such like. So even when it comes to that,
yeah, I think it's with a lot of what I do, it's just having the knowledge. It's about knowing out of that huge box of CDs which 3 are worth any money, and it's about just much more about knowledge rather than the intrinsic value of something, which is something I'm trying to learn, spotting quality in vintage and antique stuff. I mean, that's more Ken's world. Ken will go on his gut instinct. He said it before. Quite often he's buying stuff almost blind, and he's just thinking, I like this. It looks old. It's got quality. I'm buying it. And that's as far as his decision process goes. And I think it's quite brave. But once you've done it a few times and you've seen the rewards, that will then kick you on to do it again and again. And yeah, it's quite a talent, I think.
Well, you mentioned something, Nick, I think last show or two that I thought is pretty profound, pretty simple but profound, and that's you only regret the things you don't buy. You only regret the things you don't try. You only regret the chances you don't take. I think that's very profound, and it's very true.
Yeah, I think that came up in a conversation that it might have been about retail arbitrage, and I was saying that I regret way more not buying stuff or not taking a chance than I do being stuck with something that doesn't sell. Because even if you buy something and you're stuck with it and you can't shift it, you've still learned that lesson, haven't you? And the times I haven't gone on something, or I've got into an RA deal but only gone in a little bit and only bought 10 when I could have bought 50, those are the things I regret. So it's about building up that nerve inside you to really go for it, I think was what I was talking about. Yeah, but it applies to everything, really. Not regretting missing that chance.
Absolutely, and that's when you learn the most, right? Is like, yeah, you can watch videos or you can hear other people, recommend things, but I learn the most about something whenever I buy it and now it's in my hands, and I have to sell it. That's when I'm really going to learn.
Absolutely, yeah. And you also learn, even if that item you've got isn't great, during your research you find out which one of these items would be, or which maker does sell, or so you're then armed when you're out there next time to leave the one you bought last time alone and pick up the good one. And you've learned that. It's fantastic how your knowledge just expands all the time.
Absolutely.
Well, I do have the chat open. I saw that Tom was in here a minute ago, Tom the English picker, but the chat is moving on at a pace. So
It is. Got another question from Margaret here. Actually, she asked, "What is something we would be surprised to learn about Lonnie?" I like asking Margaret's questions because she does come up with some weird ones, doesn't she? But I think that's quite a good question. It's something that we would be surprised to learn about you.
Wow, Margaret's really putting me on the spot here, huh? Well, I'll tell you one thing, that this is actually my second YouTube channel that I've ever made. And Zaheer, I know I share this with you too, because I know you've talked about another channel that you've had in the past. So I actually had a YouTube channel before, and it's got like, not a lot, it's got like 5,000 subscribers. But whenever I started this channel, I actually made the decision to start a brand new channel, which was a hard decision, because you're starting from ground zero. And because I really wanted to brand it as just a reseller only type channel. And so that's maybe one thing you guys might not know. Another thing you might not know is that...
Could I ask what the other channel was, mate? What was the other channel about, and are you still active on that one?
I'm not active on it, although I plan on maybe being active again. I mean, it's still churning out quite a few views. It's just Lonnie. It's just a Lonnie Honeycutt, my first and last name, and
Okay.
It's revolving all around like hobby electronics.
Okay.
I used to build like robots and make projects, and I built like a light bright clock, that I turned into an LED clock. And I actually got, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Make Magazine. They saw it, and they saw my video, and they contacted me. I ended up doing a write-up. Was published in their magazine for that, and it's like a whole different world from this. But
see, that is something that that is an awesome story. That is, so actually getting noticed and published like that's pretty awesome, and for something you've made yourself as well. That's really cool.
Yeah, I actually stole it from my daughter. I saw her playing with the pegs. I saw her playing with the pegs, and I watched her as she put them in. I was like, man, those look like LEDs. Once you plug them in and they light up, I said, man, those look just like LEDs. I said, well, what if I could control those lights and make them do something, And it kind of evolved into a little more, and then ended up getting an offer, and they actually paid, guys. I'd never been published anywhere, done anything like that. They actually gave me $500 to write a little blurb, and then they turned it by editing. And Nick, I know you know this from your BBC escapade. You write this, and they end up turning it into this by the time they're done with it, right?
Yeah. Yes, the power of the edit. We all know about that one. Well, actually, Zaheer, let's turn that question on you. Tell us something we don't know about you.
Oh God. Well, I mean, like Lonnie, I do have a YouTube channel which I used to just unbox things, electronics and games, and I kind of had to leave it where it is. It's kind of on a go slow at the moment, and the thing is, I called it Dingo Ate Yo Baby, and the reason for that is I'm a huge Seinfeld fan, and in one of the episodes of Seinfeld, oh God, I can't even remember her name now. Elaine. She actually uses. She says maybe the dingo ate your baby in like I don't know, like some kind of a southern accent or something to get one of her friends out of this bind. And I actually got a message once from this lady complaining about how offensive my username was because apparently in Australia a dingo did eat someone's baby. So it's very far apart. But that's my username on my other channel, and I haven't used it. But that's something that no one knew, I guess.
I did find Tom's question a minute ago. I think it's aimed at Lonnie. What's your favourite place to buy things? Where would you
Uh,
source most of your stock?
I go. I would say probably 80% of my sourcing is done at garage sales, which is the UK version of the boot sale. Uh,
Yeah.
they don't all congregate in one place like they do for you guys, so you don't have all the sellers in one spot, but you don't have all the buyers in one spot either. Um, I probably drive on a typical Saturday morning, uh, probably close to 100 miles. You know,
Wow.
Wow.
yeah.
So
And
where in the States are you based? We didn't actually ask where you are.
That's actually another question, that is. So, yeah.
I'm actually in Louisiana, just outside of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is in the southern part
Oh, I know it.
of the
I
United
drove
States.
I went on a road trip before we had our daughter. Andrea and I did a road trip right across America, and we went through Baton Rouge. Nice part of the country, actually.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. So you went over the Mississippi River Bridge, probably right there, and
Yeah, unlikely. Yeah, we drove right across the top of the Gulf there, and stayed on some islands in some parks, and yeah, that was before the whole Katrina thing. I know a lot of the places we stayed were devastated after we were there.
absolutely. I was in the Air National Guard at the time, which is basically kind of an Air Force reserve. I did that for 20 years. That's another thing you guys might not know because I never talk about it. But yeah, I got activated for that. I was on active duty for that for Katrina for a little over 6 months, and I was down in New Orleans to see all that stuff firsthand. So
Yeah,
that's
that
something else y'all might not know.
was shocking to see some of that. Because we stayed in a state park just outside New Orleans, and I've seen pictures of the place, and it was you could just see trees poking up from the water. And I know there's a great big campsite there, and people lived on site, and you can just because I'd been there, you can imagine the absolute chaos and it. Oh, horrible. Anyway, we've digressed quite a lot there from reselling.
Well, we've got 92 people watching, which is amazing. 44 thumbs up. I'm trying to focus on the questions, but guys, you're going to have to just bear with me because I'm just not that great at it. So that's the bottom line there. Let's have a look. Chelsea asks, Chelsea says, enjoying the stream. Quick question. What, if any, do you think are the differences between UK and US resellers, Lonnie?
To be quite honest, because I watched a lot of videos from the UK, I don't think there's really that many differences, to tell you the truth. The biggest difference I see is on the sourcing side. I have to drive around to garage sales. Y'all have your boot fairs. We have thrift stores. Y'all have charity shops. So I mean, those are analogous. But like the only difference I really see though is like we call it Clue. Y'all call it Cluedo. We have different media, like a lot of the DVDs and stuff like that, or TV shows are different. So a lot of your box sets are different that you're picking up. Playmobil's not as big here as it is there. Lego is, of course. But I mean, the differences are pretty small. We call it bucks. Y'all call it quid. We have dollars. You have pounds. We have trunks. Y'all have boots. I mean, just little stuff like that. And look, guys, I got to tell you, from watching the UK resellers, I'm constantly in Google trying to find out what stuff means. Like, I don't know if being chuffed is a good or a bad thing. I don't know if I want to get knackered or not.
Chuffed is a good thing. If we'd say I'm well chuffed, which means you're really happy about it. That's a good thing. You can use that one.
Okay, good.
And being knackered is good because it means you've been working hard. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Here's another question from Margaret here. I've got to ask this. How does Lonnie feel about gravy on French fries?
I've never done it. I wouldn't do it. Like, well, now I do. I'm a dipper, a French fry dipper. I dip each individual French fry and eat it. My wife is more of a pour the ketchup on top of the French fries and eat them like that. So other than that, I don't. That's the only way I do fries.
Fair enough.
And I gotta say hello to Chelsaw because Chelsaw has been a contributor and supporter of my channel pretty much from the start. So hello, Chelsaw. Thanks for joining and thanks for supporting me. I appreciate it.
Rocking Zebra asks, question for Lonnie. And you've kind of touched on this. Are thrift stores the same as our charity shops, or are they, or a complete? I'm guessing, or they're completely different, or a completely different concept. So, I mean, just to give you an idea, just so you've got something to compare it with, our charity shops, as you may know, tend to be just like small stores on the high street. Often, they're no bigger than like a large garden shed or something, and they don't tend to have, they don't tend to be like the superstore size that you have. Like you tend to have like these huge things, but the kind of things that they obviously sell are pretty much the same, and along those lines. So I mean, how would you consider them your equivalent, or would you say that they're in a slightly different section for sourcing stock?
I think probably one of the main differences, like you guys call them charity shops, here we call them thrift stores, and there's one big chain. It's like a big corporate thing, Goodwill. There's other thrift stores too. There's Savers, which we don't have here. There's Salvation Army, which I mean, I think those are pretty much nationwide. But I don't think that our thrift stores are quite as charity-based as your charity shops are, because these are nonprofit organizations, and they do some good things, but it's not like a direct, I buy something at a thrift store, and they just give the money to charity. They have a corporate structure it goes through. They hire people. They put people that are, maybe out of work to work, maybe people that are coming like, ex-cons in some cases. People with disabilities are putting to work. They're doing things like that, but it's not just a straight charity type of situation.
Well, that's actually quite similar to here. I think that would be right, wouldn't it? It's not, when you buy something from a charity shop here, it doesn't go straight to the charity. I mean, they still have to pay
their overheads to come out of it and their staffing costs. But I think, most of ours are on a slightly smaller scale, and what we have a lot more of, I think, are local ones. Local to me, there's a hospice, and they have 3 or 4 little shops, and that goes straight to our local hospice. That's not a nationwide thing. So I think, like most things in the UK, a lot of it's on a smaller scale, I guess, is what I'd say.
Now, we do have some churches.
Sorry, I was just going to ask. I've seen what got me into YouTube in a big way to do a reselling was watching Gil Daddy and Gil Mama, and they used to go to ones where they would fill their trolley cart thing up, and then they'd just be checked out on weight, and I was astonished at how cheap they would get stuff. And they'd go to the electronics aisle and take out the bits that were worth stuff and take them apart and chuck it all in, and it just seemed a bizarre way of doing it to me. The place could make so much more money, in my opinion, doing it a different way. What's your opinion on that?
I've never actually been to one of those. They're called, they're kind of referred to as weigh and pays because they do it by weight. And those aren't as widespread as just the regular Goodwill retail thrift stores where you actually pay by the item. I think the chat's going to have to correct me because I've never been to one. But I think those are like the final destination type places for stuff that didn't get sold in the individual shops. They mark it down or whatever.
Right. So they're just happy to churn it out for next to nothing by the weight then.
Right. It's just a liquidation thing at that point, so that it doesn't have to go to a landfill.
Okay. Cool. Because those guys were doing so well out of it with their Hoover parts and George Foreman grills and all of that sort of stuff that they were into, and they were getting it for pennies. It was amazing.
But it kind of goes to show you, doesn't it, that look how many times the stuff that they were getting there got passed over. Okay, it got passed over once by the person that donated it, and then it got passed over countless times by people that were at the the individual thrift store that just walked right past the stuff. And eventually it had to get liquidated. I mean, if you're getting liquidated from a thrift store, that's pretty bad stuff, right? It should be. And they're still finding all that value at the weigh and pay. That shows you, even with a lot of competition, there's still so much value if you know what you're doing, if you have the knowledge.
Yeah, I think that's what they quite inspired me actually in the early days when I was watching YouTube, because they were thinking differently on different ways, about got me into parting out electronics and that sort of stuff, which they were fantastic at. I think they've moved on and gone the kind of private label route now, but
Yep.
They were a big inspiration to me in expanding my repertoire of what I had bought and sold.
Absolutely, and I see a lot of people going the private label route, and I totally understand, because at some point, I think with eBay, you're going to reach a level where you're not able to grow anymore. And like you, Nick, how much of your business is done via Amazon FBA now, would you say?
Right now, it's a lot more than eBay, because we took on the shop a year and a half ago. I'm time short. Time is the thing I don't have much of now. So Amazon, for me, has been fantastic. So yeah, that's a bigger part of what I do now than eBay. Certainly. Do you do that at all? Actually, I haven't asked that. Are you into Amazon?
I just started. I feel horrible because I've been a reseller for over 2 years, and I just started FBA about a month ago, which is horrible. I hate to say it. It's a little embarrassing, but I just started. So
It took me a long time. I did merchant fulfilled since way back when, since 2001. But I've only been doing FBA for a year and a bit.
Yeah, I think we get so used to being able to do the quick turnover on eBay, and it's a little different on FBA, right? I mean, you don't get the instant gratification, the instant money. Like, I can sell something. If I sell this receiver right now, I can go to Walmart, and which is I don't know, I guess you guys know what Walmart is, but
yeah.
I can go to Walmart, I can buy me a Coke.
Asda. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting you should say that. I mean, I know what you're getting at there with the payments being deferred. I think you get paid like 2 weeks. I mean, on my FBA, I think it's like normally about 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. But just the fact that you would say that you felt a bit funny admitting that you just started your account, do you find that some people put FBA on some kind of a pedestal as opposed to eBay, where eBay is seen as kind of less professional or less cool in a way? But I mean, do you have any opinions on that? Because a lot of people seem very keen to get onto FBA, and personally, I will be doing it. I do it as well, but I don't even like talking about it because I find it so boring. I mean, what's your opinion on it, Lonnie?
Well,
by the way, I know Nick loves it.
Well, I mean, it's pretty. You're right. It's polarizing. Like, people that are on FBA, it seems like they're almost 100% FBA. Not everybody, but to be honest, like, most of the stuff I buy is not boxed. It's not new. It's not mint. So I really like the flexibility I have on eBay to really get into the details. This works. This doesn't. There's a scuff here. There's a nick here. And I'll even be able to put like a YouTube video, embed that into the description, show it working, really get personal with it. You can lot stuff up a lot easier on eBay. The flexibility and the personality on eBay, I think, is more appealing to me right now. That could change. So, but yeah, sometimes, you get in the right circles, you might feel a little ashamed.
I don't think anybody has to be, feel bad about not jumping into Amazon. There are great opportunities there, but I would agree that I think I love both platforms in equal measure, but for completely different reasons. And the key word there, I think, was flexibility. With eBay, you can pretty much sell your stuff how you want. You know what I mean? You can bundle stuff up, you can break stuff down, you can do that. You do not have that flexibility on Amazon. And it takes a lot of getting your head around that you are restricted so much on Amazon to what you can do, and you are punished harshly if you screw it up as well. So I love eBay for the fact that I can think outside the box, I can add value to my stuff in so many different ways. Whereas with Amazon, it's just all about numbers and about churning the stuff out. So, but I do love both platforms for different reasons.
I mean, they've definitely got their benefits, and you know they definitely have their strong points. But I don't. Is it gone?
Yeah. What minute was that? Who won the sweepstake?
You know, while he's getting his audio
How's that?
sorted out.
Is that okay now?
Yeah, it's fine.
You're
Okay.
good.
Yeah, brilliant. We did actually hit good use good just mentioned we hit 110 watches at one point. We're on 107 now, but still that is awesome. And Rocking Zebra has asked, is there a cure for my YouTube reseller video addiction?
Nope.
I hope that's it. Just go with it. But like I was saying, getting back with the old FBA thing, I mean, like I said, I do use it as well, and I can see where it's useful. It's not particularly useful in what I deal with because I do buy a lot of used second-hand items which I think need description. I know a lot of the stuff I sell I could sell on Amazon. I could sell used electronics in, but because I wouldn't have the same level of control over my listing, I'd just be opening myself up to a bit more hassle. So I don't do it, even though there is obviously a little bit of a premium there. But I just feel that sometimes people feel that Amazon is like a progression when really it should just be. It's not you moving forward; it's you adding another bow to your string. Another string to your bow, another bow to your string, another string to your bow, rather than like a progression per se.
Yeah, I see it that way. Certainly, it's it's a tool that I use to perhaps for certain items to achieve more on them, and it's simpler as well. It's like I had a bit of a media haul last weekend. Most of that has gone straight in a box after being scanned in, and that's it. I don't have to think about it again, and I know that will tick over really fast up there. Whereas with eBay, that would be a day's work to list it all, sort of thing. So that's what it gives me. Speed on certain things, and on certain other things I can ask a real premium, being FBA, way beyond what I think I could get on eBay. So that's what it adds as well. It adds some value to certain things, not on everything. So you just have to be quite selective with what you send up and what you stick on eBay. That's how I do it.
And FBA I look at it as a time multiplier, and I think the longer you're in the game, the more you're producing, the more money you're making. Your time becomes more and more valuable, so the time multiplier becomes more valuable too. So I can definitely see why someone like Nick would find it more valuable than someone like me, because quite honestly, Nick's time's probably more valuable than mine. And somebody else that's just getting started, my time might be more valuable than theirs. So I mean, it's all depends on what situation you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a question that you might get often. Joe Scott has asked us to stop waffling. And hi, Nick. I'm currently looking at doing FBA arbitrage. Can you recommend a way of searching for deals online? There's a question. There's
the obvious sites, which are Camel and Hot UK Deals. Beyond that, it's down to you really. It's down to legwork and time. There's no quick fix, I'm afraid. If there was a quick fix on how to find the really good deals, we would all find them every time. So yeah, there's no easy answer to that. But Hot UK Deals is a good place to start. But obviously, tens of thousands of people look at that every day. So you've got to be in there quick and take every deal with a pinch of salt and judge it yourself. You're not going to be able to make money on everything. So it's not easy. Maybe I've made it look easy sometimes. It's not easy at all.
And also beware of those deal sites, because even if you find those deal sites, those are available to everyone else as well. So, and especially if those are deals that people are reporting that are available from a company that sells nationwide. So, for example, if someone on Hot UK Deals says Tesco are selling X for Y, every Tesco's doing it. Guess what? You're not going to be the only one, or even close to the only one, going out there buying that stock. So unless you're prepared to then sit and wait, on the stock, you could find yourself in a difficult situation.
Yeah, the best deals are the ones that it's very limited. So there's not going to be masses of stock spread out over all the resellers. You've got to get in there quick and get out. And they're the ones where you can do really well if you happen to to get in on it quick enough. And a lot of RA is all about speed. Unless, like you said, you're going to play the waiting game and wait for everybody else to sell out, which also works. You've got to be prepared to tie up a lot of cash, which is the other downside of that.
Julian Linsell asks, how cold is it up north? It's not cold. It's fine. The stories are not true. It's not yet, but I want the snow. We've actually got 111 people watching now, 55 thumbs ups. So thanks. Well, 112 now. Wow. Really awesome.
Wow, I think that's your benchmark, isn't it? I think that's our new record.
Yeah, 112 has got to be. Yeah, that's fantastic. Rocket Madness has a question that's interesting. May sound daft, but why don't you all link your eBays to your channel, as it's something that has crossed my mind in my videos? Like, why don't we link our eBay channels, eBay stores on our YouTube channels?
I'll answer this one first. When I set out with this, I got asked a lot, and I still get asked on a daily basis what my eBay name is. And weirdly, my subscribers answer it for me now and give it away anyway. But I never wanted my channel to be self-promoting in that way. It's not an advert for my eBay, so I've kind of stuck with that, and I don't openly share what it is. But everyone can find it so easily, and I only found out a few months back, thanks to Fake Rachel, that over 1,000 people follow my eBay store. It can't be that hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, just find a haul video and just go from there. I mean, what I would say is, yeah, in the same way, I don't really want to draw any like unnecessary attention to the store. It's not what the channel's about. The channel's about, just my journey as a reseller, and giving back to a great community that has given me a new way of life. Mostly thanks to Nick, actually. So, credit where credit's due. A lot more questions. God.
Guys, I actually had somebody on eBay last week. I got a message on eBay within the eBay messaging system saying, hey Lonnie, I watched you on YouTube and I saw you put this certain Stein on your haul video. I was wondering when you were going to put it up for sale. So it gets kind of weird. I mostly don't do it just because I like to keep my buying and my selling completely separate, although it might change. I see Good Used Goods in the chat, and I know he does promote his store on his channel. And I can definitely see pluses and minuses. Like, what if there are trolls out there, and I know a lot of YouTube creators are worried about trolls finding out their eBay account and then buying something, negging them, giving them negative feedback and all that. I could see that are you guys concerned about that?
Yeah, I was going to mention that, funnily enough. That has crossed my mind, and I had a fair amount of grief with trolls a few months back about the whole BBC thing, and it got quite offensive and threatening and this sort of thing. And there were moments then when I thought they could easily, in fact, people threatened to do this, find my eBay and screw me over somehow. So yeah, it's a concern, but I don't think you're going to be able to stop people finding it. That's the thing. So there's not much I can do in that way. But I don't want to openly advertise it and invite them in either, I suppose.
Right. That's where I'm at right now too. They could change though. I could see value both ways.
Yeah. I was just looking in the chat. Let's have a look. Steve Hicksy's in there. Hey Steve, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I was just answering a kebab-related question. It had to be dealt with. Anything to do with kebabs is important.
Here's your man for fast food questions.
Oh yeah. Okay, just moving on. Let's have a look. Are there any items that you avoid selling?
Sorry, I overspoke then.
Oh no, it's alright. It's okay. Hi, hello. Hi, ads. Joe Pennies is in there as well. Loads of people in there. Obviously, Hicksy in there. Rocket Madness. Yeah, we go. Just a question for you, Lonnie. Are there any items that you actively avoid selling? I know we talked about what you're into picking up, but is there anything that you actively would avoid?
I'm not a clothes reseller at all. I think I've probably sold. Well, I have done some military clothing, which is a little different, but I haven't really sold any clothing, and I just don't like it, and I wouldn't devote enough energy to learning about it to make it profitable for me. But as far as avoiding things, avoid things that are likely to be faked. Beats headphones, I'm always very wary of. All the, purses, things that I'm not super knowledgeable of. I know they have value, but I also know that, especially around here, at least half the time when I see this stuff, it's fake. So I'm really worried about that because that's the kind of thing that could shut my account down. So actively avoiding is anything that's very likely to be faked.
That's a good point. I mean, in terms of fakes, there's plenty of fake clothing around here as well. And funnily enough, you'd actually find a lot of it at your local charity shops where people just donate it because obviously it holds no real value. And you do have to know what you're doing, I suppose, with that, especially like you said, because the consequences can be quite harsh. So that's understandable. Clothes. I mean, Nick, on the other hand, you used to deal a lot in clothes, didn't you? Before, like, was it kids'
for a while
clothes?
we were clothing only, yeah, for a while. But I found it hard to just stick to selling clothes because it doesn't excite me. It's not my passion, so I struggle with that. But that's much more what Andrea loves to deal in, shoes and clothes. So we've kind of divided now, which works really well. Andrea has her passion and she can follow that, and I'm kind of everything else, if you like. But yeah, clothing, there's so much money in it. But going back to the fakes thing, yeah, that's can be a minefield, and you really have to gen up on spotting the real stuff, which is a whole other subject matter. It really is huge.
I have to give my weekly shout out to Bonafide Hustler, who's in the chat. So, hi Chris, big fans here, obviously. Joe Pennies asks, do you check all your electronics and games, or do you just list blindly and hope? I know we touched on this earlier, Lonnie, but in terms of games, do you bother to load them up to the menu screen, or do you just have a look at the disc and judge?
It kind of depends on, I hope none of my buyers are watching, but it kind of depends on the price. If a game is like $20 and under or $25 and under, I'll have a look at the disc. If it looks good, I'm not testing the thing. Now, if it's got, so let's say it's worth $20 and I run it through the resurfacer and, to remove some scratches, well, yeah, I'm testing that every time.
You have a resurfacer. Sorry to butt in there, but you've got what is it, like a JFJ or something, or? Yeah,
it's a JFJ Easy Pro.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been meaning to do a video on it. It's like $150 to $200, I think, somewhere in that area. And of course, you have your consumables, the solutions and whatnot that you have to use. So it's not like once you get it, it's free. But yeah, I mean, I've been able to revive some games that didn't work. That were worth like $50. And bring them around to a state where I could sell them as working, which is pretty huge. So if you deal with a lot of video games, you should definitely get one, I think. I don't know if you guys have one or
not. There are people in the chat. I mean, Nick, yeah.
I was going to say we used to have a resurfacer when we had a gaming outlet. I don't know if you know, Lonnie, but for nearly 10 years we ran a gaming shop, and we had our own resurfacer. But I found it was so time-consuming. Unless I jumped up to a much more automated one, we were spending so long fiddling around with the solution and this, that, and the other. So I ended up, I had a firm do it for me because I was sending in such volume. I could get really good discounts. So I'd just send them all away every week, and they'd send me a job lot back. So that's how we ended up doing it. But yeah, it's worth thinking about, especially for higher value games. But going back to the original question, I don't test games. After years and years of buying and selling games, I'm pretty sure when I look at a disc, I know if it's going to be okay. And I try and avoid really badly scratched discs unless they are valuable games anyway.
And when it comes to cartridges, it's worth picking up a bottle of isopropyl alcohol. That stuff is amazing. I mean, if you've ever done custom PCs, then you'll know about using it because it evaporates pretty much immediately. So especially on electronics, it's great for cleaning contacts and things like that. So if you are really concerned and you want to say that your item's been like to somewhat, I've seen some sellers sell cartridge games and say they're reseller refurbished. Pretty much all they've done is dab a bit of isopropyl alcohol on the contacts and rub it, make sure it works, and there's your refurbishment. That's obviously, you do it at your own risk, but that stuff's handy to have generally when it comes to cleaning contacts on things, and it's great in battery compartments as well. Even though it doesn't dissolve the gunk, it will clean up the contacts.
Yeah, you definitely any cartridge game pretty much that hasn't been played in, say, 5 years or more, there's going to be a certain level of oxidation on those contacts. And every single game that I bring in, I don't test them all, even the cartridges, okay? They got to be above a certain dollar amount, or maybe they look kind of iffy. Maybe they look a little, I don't know what the label's really bad. It looks like it's beat up. I'll test those. But, yeah, I'm just taking a Q-tip, isopropyl, hit the contacts, and then right before I ship the game, I do it again. Right before I throw it in the envelope or the box, I do it one more time. And, yeah, you're going to always have oxidation on those games, so you got to clean them for sure.
I was going to say it's tricky if you did want to test every cartridge. That means you've got to keep in stock a Super Nintendo, an N64, a Mega Drive. You could be sitting with $1,000 worth in your currencies of consoles, and who can afford to have that sat there? So it's quite an investment if you want to be able to test every cart, is what I'm saying.
I've got a lot of them. I've got an NES, Super NES. I've got a GameCube. I've got most of them. I don't have, but I sell like PS4 games all the time. I don't have a PS4, you know, and I'll be totally honest with you guys. I put on most of my games listings, tested, works fine, but I'm willing to take on the repercussions if it doesn't work fine too, and it doesn't happen too often.
Good stuff.
Bonafide Hustler mentions, dang, 115 people watching. We've actually dropped to 105. Daytime show killers. Well, Nick, are you a daytime show killer?
Wow.
I like that title. I might adopt it. Daytime show killers. But only if we can spell killers Killaz. Then I'm
it's evening here, really, isn't it? We're daytime.
Exactly, yeah, we're cheating a bit. Yeah. Here's a question. Laney Ray asks, Zaheer, since moving up north, have you noticed a difference in the cost of living and also in the cost of buying for reselling? Cost of living, definitely yes. I've noticed a change. It's incredible how different it is. Much better. Cost of buying for reselling, I don't think it's that different because it's kind of, you get into market forces there, don't you? Because it doesn't matter whether you're buying I don't know, like a pair of Nike Air Force Ones from a charity shop in the north or in the south. It's irrelevant. I think that if they're the kind of shop that checks online, they're going to know what it sells for online, and they'll price accordingly. So I have not noticed much difference in the charity shops. The boot fairs that I visited, they're pretty much the same. No, not really. So that's that. Next question, Tom.
Another question. Where are we? Kevin Ryson was asked an interesting question. He says it seems from the videos that cartridge games are more common in the US. Would you agree? I think that may be so because the NES was absolutely massive in the States, not so much here. I think later on SNES and N64 were big in this country. But would you say, Lonnie, that cartridges may be easier to find over there?
I mean, I don't really have a good point of reference because I haven't shot for games over there, but I would say probably not. I mean, I come across NES very rarely, Super NES very rarely. Like I could go a month in between seeing those, but I always see disc-based games every time, so I wouldn't say that's true.
Do you think that stuff becoming scarcer is more because there's a whole army of games collectors now, and a whole army of resellers who know what they're worth. Certainly in this country, when I started actively buying to resell around 2000-ish, I was finding Super Nintendo and N64 every week. Now I'm lucky to find them once a month. So I think the resellers and the gaming community itself, that's all going backwards and going retro and picking them up, I think that's affected it no end. Would you agree? In the US it's the same?
Yeah, because I mean, once a collector gets their hands on it, it's effectively, for all intents and purposes, to everyone else in the world, it's destroyed because it's not coming back on the market again, right?
Or if it does come on the market, they're going to pitch it right up here.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Tom Miller asks, is there still money to be made selling movie DVDs?
Not
Ronnie?
really, to be honest.
No. I wouldn't know. I don't really sell them, but I would have thought not.
No, I mean, you may have seen in my last haul video, I shared some of the bits I picked up last weekend, and there was a stall where everything was suddenly 50 pence, and I grabbed all the sealed stuff. But even some of those brand new sealed DVDs, Amazon are selling them new for £2.99. So, you know, you're competing with that level of cheapness. So yeah, and most are so common that there's thousands out there. They're certainly not worth selling used, that's for sure. And new, you're only going to get £2 or £3. So, but yeah, some, like anything, some will be worth doing, but you just have to have the knowledge, or get your scanner out and scan them, which is what I do a lot now.
Yeah, I don't buy individual DVD movies very often at all, but you know, if you did want to do DVDs, you would have to do box sets, right? And then you have to know which box sets are valuable and which aren't. I mean,
box sets and specialist stuff, niche stuff, and stuff that's pure.
Yeah. Uniqueness, really. Look out for uniqueness. Chris M has a question. He says, do you guys use sniping software, and if so, which one do you use? Lonnie, do you snipe off eBay using software?
No, I should. I really should. But to tell you the truth, I source so much that my main bottleneck is not sourcing, it's listing. So getting off my butt and actually listing the stuff. So I don't really need more sourcing. So, but if I did, I would try that for sure.
I like how at that moment that you said that, all of us went, yeah, that's it. Like, that's
a great way of describing it. The listing bottleneck. I can picture that so clearly in my mind. I've got this much coming in and this much going out.
Right.
That's how it's always been. But yeah, I haven't done so much sniping recently. I was really into it going back sort of 3 or 4 years. And I use a program called, or a website called BidNip. I know some people moan about that because you pay for the snipes, and there are sites where you can get them for free. But I just find it a really reliable site. So I've, you know, when you start using something and you trust it, you stick with it. So even though it costs me per snipe, it's very little, but it does cost me. That's the site I use. It's called BidNip. What about yourself, Zaheer? Have you ever done that?
I've used I think I've used GoofBid a couple of times for just personal stuff. So you know, it's
Is that a charge site? Do they charge you?
No, it's free. It's a free one, so it's not much of an issue.
So how would they make any revenue? How would they support the site?
I don't have a clue. It's not crossed my mind.
On an affiliate basis, that your bid is done through an affiliate thing.
I guess so. Maybe they've got that set up, and they do have a paid for service, but I don't actually know what that gives you. But I mean, it's not something I'm that into. Lewis Reseller Foskett has a question. If someone asks you what you're going to do with an item once you've bought it, what do you do? Make up a random story? Pretend to be a collector? Quite an interesting topic that is.
It is, and it's something I struggle with a lot. And I'm kind of coming back around the other way, but up to this point, I'm a big fat liar, guys. I'm a collector. I'm buying it for my mother. I'm buying it for my daughter. I'm doing this. I'm doing that, and it. I don't think it's a lot of people. I feel like don't want to see me profit off of their item. They don't mind seeing me use their item and get a great deal, but they don't want to see me actually make cold hard cash. But on the other hand, you talk to a lot of resellers. They make a lot of great contacts whenever they're up front about what they're going to do with the stuff. So I've always been a little conflicted, and I think, if both were equal, I would prefer to go the honest route just to be a better person. And, I don't feel bad about lying, though. I really don't.
Nick, that kind of leads on to you in a way, because Craig R has asked whether you find it awkward when another reseller recognizes you, or if they know you might be looking for the same things at a boot fair. I mean, how do you deal with that situation? Because I know you've mentioned that you've been.
It's happening a lot.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's not been a problem as in that they say, "Oh, hi, Nick," and then grab what I'm looking at. I've not had that at all, and they've been incredibly polite on the whole, and it's, it's okay. But it does bring it home when you bump into a reseller who watches every one of your videos, and he's right there next to you. It does bring it home that, in that sense, I created a direct competitor. But like one of the guys I chatted to last week, he said he's been reselling for years, so he would have been there anyway. But yeah, sometimes I do think perhaps I shouldn't have said that last week.
Have you actually bought of anyone that watches you? Have you ever? Yeah, you have. And how did that affect the situation? Did you get a worse deal or better deal?
It's a lady who I've seen going to the boot fairs for years and years, since right back when I started this, and we've never got friendly, but we've always given each other that nod, because we go for a lot of the same stuff, and we're always there, and so we give each other a sneaky little hi, yeah, no, you, and she resells at boot fairs, so she buys up a load of stuff cheap. It's her and her husband actually, and then they resell, I think, primarily at boot sales, but must do a bit online as well. And then one week I happened to be at their stall looking at their PS1 games, and the little boy said, "My mum watches you on YouTube." But they had their stuff marked out at certain prices, and I bought it at the prices they wanted. But they must have then had that thought, hang on, Nick's
what have I
buying...
done wrong? Yeah. I mean, that's, I think, what you guys have touched on there. I mean, like, do you admit it, or do you just come up with, "I'm a collector, I'm buying it for a kid"? I think it really does depend on you judging who you're speaking to. I think, like Lonnie, I would be inclined to make a story up if it was just a family selling some stuff, because when you're a family, you kind of, I can see their point in a way. They want their stuff just to go to another family that'll get some use out of it. However, if I came across a stall that was being run by someone that does house clearance, or a regular seller like you mentioned there, Nick, then I'd be more inclined to be honest, because they're already of the same mindset as you. They do what you do. It may be using a different platform, but they're already on the same page as you. So if they know that that's what you're doing, then they're probably going to be more inclined to help you out.
Yeah, I think you're right. They may see you as an opportunity for them to make money, essentially. If they're a guy who's a house clearance guy, they're all about turning it over and getting rid. And if they make their £5, they're happy for you to make 25 quid, maybe. So, yeah, I think you're right. It's a good point.
Okay, I'm just getting through some. It is actually now 7:23, so we've been on for more than an hour.
That's been quick.
Yeah, but the questions are still coming. The questions are still coming.
I was going to say about making up stories. I'm a big fat liar quite often, and it just makes the whole process that bit easier. And also, because I do scan a fair amount of stuff for Amazon now, I'm a super big fat liar, because I say I'm just texting my wife to see if this is what she wants, whilst scanning it, and then or searching on eBay, because it looks like I'm texting, but I'm actually searching, this VCR or whatever it is, and typing in the numbers and say, "Oh yeah, do you mind if I just text the wife?" And that works really well, because they can't see what you're doing. So yeah, I'm a big fat liar.
It kind of depends too, right? Like if they have like 100 of the same item. Well, if you're buying it for personal use, obviously you're not going to buy 100 of these things. Or if you see like a box and it has GameCube, PS1, PS2, Xbox 360, and they say, well, which ones do you want? And you say, oh, I'll just take all of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in those kind of spots, yeah, it's kind of hard, but I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on being more honest because I think really honesty kind of make you a better human being in general. But sometimes I have fun with the lies too. I can't lie. Sometimes it's fun to take on whatever persona of what you're buying is. But whenever you tell them you're a reseller, I have been invited. Oh, well, we have this inside that we've been thinking about selling, but we didn't bring it out yet. Why don't you come take a look? I've been in that spot too, so I can see value.
Yeah, Lonnie, have you watched a guy called CJR? He's a games collector.
I have. Yeah, I watch a lot of games.
Because he has some great tactics that you've probably seen, where he will list off a load of things, because he says a lot of people don't, see value in stuff and won't even bring it out, like Game Boys and stuff. So he goes up and he says, have you got vintage Nintendo, this, that, and the other. Quite often they go in their basement and bring out some gems. So yeah,
that's the best advice, man, is to just ask every time, because and you can't just say video games like you said, Nick, because a lot of older people, they don't really associate like a Nintendo or a handheld game. They don't think of that as a video game for some reason. They know it as a Nintendo or a Game Boy or whatever. So yeah, that's perfect. Go through the list of all the different consoles, actually say the names, say vintage computers, asking. That's a huge tip.
That got to echo that. There's the amount of times where sometimes people don't even class what you're asking for in the same category that it is. So, for example, what I mean by that, such a bad sentence. What I mean by that is just, if you say to someone, do you have any video games? They might initially just say no, because they won't even think that the Game Boy and Pokemon Yellow they've got is a video game. They'll just think it's an old toy from, I've got this old electronic thing, and it's that detail. But if you actually say anything Game Boy or anything, then it's suddenly that, oh yeah, I've got that, and it's like, well, that's a video game. But just because you and I know what we mean when we say video game, and I think if we were to like visualize our mind when we say video game, all this stuff comes in front of my eyes, like this amazing gaming stuff.
That's exactly what CJR has learned over time, that he refers to it as, have you got any Sega, Nintendo, and that sometimes triggers something else in their mind. So yeah, that's certainly worth people remembering. So how are we doing? We're going to have to wrap up soon. I'm starting to slowly fade into darkness, but I'm not too bad.
I think we should. I mean, we've still got 112 people watching with 63 thumbs ups.
Fantastic. We could go on, but we have to.
The chat's been really busy as well. I think Hixie was mentioning a really rare DVD that he would love to buy, and he would actually take a bank loan out to buy. I'm not going to talk about the content of it because it's a bit risky, but you should read the chat. From what I heard, what I'll do to give you guys a clue of what I'm talking about is, apparently Prince had a rib removed so he could achieve. That's just a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm a big Prince fan, but this was a rumor I remember from school.
You sell that jacket yet?
I still have it. I'm not reducing the price because I love having it. I absolutely love having that jacket. It's such a cool jacket, and unless someone pays me what I'm asking, I don't think I'm going to sell it. I love it. It's one of those awkward things, I should really be looking to move it, but we'll see.
It'll go one day. It might be one of those Christmas, that one-off gift.
It might, but I kind of almost don't want it to, Nick. I just want it to stay there. It's such a cool thing. Whenever I open my cupboard to see it there, I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah, but you'll love it when it sells. That little
yeah, you'll never hear the end of it when it sells.
So, Zaheer, I have one more question for you. Real
go
quick.
on. Sure.
So, I've got like probably 50 channels that I subscribe to on my list, okay? And you're one of them. I think you're somewhere around the bottom. I guess it's in alphabetical order. They all 50 have profile pictures for their YouTube channel. And then I have this one little circle that has just the little blue guy, anonymous looking blue guy. When are you going to get an actual picture for your channel? I mean, are you waiting for like 10,000 subs or what?
Lonnie. I mean, God, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, and what a moment for your headset to go again.
Oh God, no, not again. Damn.
He's got no avatar picture and he's got a crap headset.
And this
it's still
headset is
666.
expensive. This headset is expensive. I tell
Yes,
you what, okay.
Hey, but it's still shit.
No. There's a problem with Google Hangouts and USB microphones. I've read about it that for some reason it's not just me. It's happened to other people where after a while it goes a bit funny. So
Okay.
that's my. But in terms of the avatar picture, Lonnie, you've really put me on the spot. So I'm gonna sort something out. I'm
I'm challenging you. This is a challenge,
yeah.
Zaheer.
I'm good. I'll take the challenge. I think I'll come up with a
Right, you've got an hour. After we go off air, you've got an hour. How's that?
an hour. Yeah. Can it be of my Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Why not?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah. Start
Right, I think we need to wrap this up. I just want to say
Yeah.
a huge thanks to Lonnie. It's been fantastic to finally get to chat with you. I will put the link to Lonnie's channel below. I will thoroughly recommend it. I've enjoyed watching your content, so hopefully this will send a few people over to you. Thanks again to Zaheer for being fantastic and keeping up with the chat almost.
Barely.
And yeah, we'll wrap it up. We'll be back next Thursday. It might just be myself and Zaheer with just a regular chat. But yeah, we'll see you next week. So cheers, guys. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you for watching, everyone, and thanks to Lonnie.
Thanks, guys, and thanks, Nick and Zaheer. It's been an honor to finally talk with you guys, and I really appreciate the invite. It's been really cool coming full circle from being a consumer of your content to actually joining you guys to create something. So I appreciate it.
Fantastic.
It's been a pleasure. That's what it's all about. Right, so we'll sign off. Take it easy, guys. I can't find the button now. Right. This bit's getting longer and longer every week.